Have you ever watched a video that made your chest tighten before you even finished it? Maybe it shocked you, maybe it angered you, maybe it felt urgent. And for a moment, it didn't just look real, it felt immediate. It felt pressing. It felt like you needed to react. Deepfakes are no longer obvious. They're not always glitchy, they're not always cartoonish. Some are sophisticated enough to trigger emotion before we ever think to verify them. And that can create anxiety, not because we're naive and not because we're foolish, but because our brains are wired to respond quickly to what feels urgent and real. This episode is not about panic, it's about discipline. You do not need to become a forensic analyst. You do not need specialized software. And you absolutely do not need to assume everything is fake. The goal isn't suspicion of everything. The goal is pause. Speed favors manipulation. The faster something pushes us to react, the less likely we are to slow down and verify. Deepfakes exploit urgency. They exploit shock. They exploit outrage. And the real damage often happens before verification ever begins. The damage is this: we share it, we amplify it, we react publicly to something unverified. And once that reaction spreads, even a later correction rarely travels as far. Feeling uncertain doesn't mean everything is fake, and feeling anxious doesn't mean you're irrational. It means your nervous system reacted first. That's human. Truth check. Strong emotion is often the first signal to slow down, not because the content is automatically false, but because that reaction is your cue to apply discipline. In this episode, we're going to combine practical verification tools with emotional guardrails, because tools without discipline can turn into constant suspicion, where we distrust everything and everyone. And discipline without tools can turn into helplessness, where we sense something might be wrong but don't know how to check it. We're aiming for neither. We're aiming for clarity. Deepfakes are powerful, but disciplined minds are stronger. And by discipline, I mean this: pause before reacting, verify before amplifying, and proceed only after you've slowed your thinking down. That's the discipline we're going to practice.
From anyone, we stand American together.
Before we talk about tools, we need a guardrail, because deepfakes don't work only because the technology is impressive. They work because they hit us fast. Deepfakes exploit urgency. They're designed to make you feel like, I need to react right now. They aim for emotional triggers: shock, outrage, fear, disgust. And here's the part we forget: the real damage often happens before verification ever begins. Because once something hits your nervous system, your brain shifts into reaction mode. And in reaction mode, we don't verify. We share, we comment, we warn people, we choose sides. So the first guardrail is this: deepfakes succeed when we move too fast. And that's exactly why the 3 Ps matter here. First, pause. Not because you're sure it's fake, but because speed is what makes manipulation easier. Then, pinpoint truth. That's the truth check step. Not to prove you're right, not to score points, not to embarrass someone. Just to ask, what do I actually know so far? And what am I only feeling so far? And then proceed with purposeful forethought. Meaning, if you share it with intention. And by intention, I mean this: you don't pass it along as if it's confirmed. You don't add a caption that turns it into a weapon. You don't tag people to stir panic or pile on pressure. You slow down long enough to choose words that match the evidence you actually have. Because this isn't just about being fooled. It's about the role we play in spreading something that may not be true. Sometimes misinformation gets corrected. Sometimes it doesn't. And when it doesn't, the damage can become permanent. Not because it's invisible, but because people remember the accusation. They don't always see the correction. And even when they do, the first impression still sticks. That "I don't know yet" feeling is uncomfortable because your brain wants closure. Hard to sit in, right? Me too. But reacting too fast is riskier than the alternative. Truth check. So when something hits you hard and fast, treat the feeling as your first warning light. Not "this is definitely fake," just "this is a moment to slow down." Because the first defense against deepfakes is not a tool, it's discipline. And with that guardrail in place, now we can talk about tools without turning into either panic or constant suspicion. Before we start zooming in on pixels or analyzing facial glitches, there's something simpler. Often, the first signal isn't inside the image. It's in the pattern around it. Where did this show up? Who posted it first? When did it start spreading? And this is where people assume you need technical expertise. You don't. You just need to know where to look. In this section, I'm going to show you a few tools you can use. You don't use every tool every time. You layer them as needed, like a quick checklist, not a full-time job. Let's start with source and spread checks. When I see a suspicious image, I'm not trying to prove it's fake. I'm asking a simpler question. Where did this begin and how did it spread? So let me show you something. Most people expect manipulation in angry political ads. But what about something that feels harmless, even sweet? That's often where our guard drops. Now, I'm starting here on purpose. This image appears in a Snopes article about a claim that Peyton Manning adopted an 8-year-old girl named Lily. Snopes has already investigated it. I chose this example because they did the full verification work, so we know this claim is false. That makes it a clean demonstration. But what I want to show you is how someone might begin before they ever reach that conclusion. So first, I pause, because this is exactly the kind of story that feels emotional and instantly shareable. And when something feels instantly shareable, that's my cue to slow down and pinpoint truth. Now, I'm going to click directly on the image, right-click, and instead of search image with Google, because that option isn't available here, I'll select copy image address. Now I open a new tab and go to lens.google.com. I paste the image into the search bar and hit enter. Now look at what appears. At the very top, there's an AI overview confidently identifying Peyton Manning with his daughter. That might sound reassuring, but AI summaries pull from existing online content. They don't independently verify claims, so that's not where I stop. I scroll down and I click Exact Matches. Now notice what we're seeing. The same image appears across multiple posts, many of them dated within a very tight window in June 2025. Several are Facebook posts. One is the Snopes article itself. That clustering matters. If a major public figure like Peyton Manning had actually adopted a child, you would expect established reporting from major sports outlets, ESPN, national media, interviews, timeline coverage. Instead, what we're seeing is a burst of nearly identical posts appearing around the same time and largely circulating through social media. That doesn't automatically prove the image is fake, but it tells us something important. This image didn't quietly exist for years with documented reporting. It appears to have surfaced and spread rapidly in a short time frame. That's a spread pattern worth noticing. Now, could Snopes have been among the first to address it? Possibly. That's why starting with a known fact check can be helpful. Not because we outsource our thinking, but because good investigators check whether groundwork has already been done. So the key question here isn't, does this feel emotional? The key question is, what does the spread pattern look like? Is there traceable, credible reporting behind this? Or is it mostly reposts, reshared stories, and social amplification? The first version you see is rarely the whole story. Truth check. Now, sometimes reverse image search solves it immediately. Sometimes it doesn't. But even this basic step tells us, when did it appear? How quickly did it spread? Is reporting broad and established or tightly clustered? Are major credible outlets covering it? None of this requires technical training. It requires slowing down long enough to look at the trail instead of reacting to the headline. Because when we take 60 seconds to trace where something came from, we interrupt the emotional rush that manipulation depends on. And slowing down the rush is how we protect ourselves from becoming a part of the spread. A suspicious spread pattern is a yellow light, not a verdict. It doesn't prove the image is a deepfake. It doesn't prove manipulation at all. What it tells us is whether the story deserves deeper investigation. And that's the key distinction. Tool A helps us evaluate the trail around the image, where it appeared, how fast it spread, and whether credible reporting supports it. But sometimes the spread pattern alone won't resolve the question, and that's where we shift tools. Sometimes the spread pattern doesn't settle it. Maybe it's a brand new video, maybe it's breaking news, maybe it hasn't had time to circulate widely yet. That's when people jump straight to, can I spot the fake? And here's where we need to slow down again. Visual guessing is getting harder. Some synthetic media is extremely difficult to detect visually. Even for trained analysts, the technology is advancing rapidly. It's not inherently malicious. It's used in film, translation tools, accessibility tech, even entertainment. But it can also be used deceptively. That's why detection habits matter. What we're looking for here is not guarantees. We're looking for possible red flags. Things like lip movement that doesn't quite match the audio, blinking that feels slightly unnatural or mistimed, lighting that shifts inconsistently across the face, hands or fingers that distort briefly, edges of the face that blur when the head turns, audio that sounds flattened, overprocessed, or strangely synthetic. But here's the important part. If you can't immediately tell whether something is fake, that's normal. Truth check. Why? Because your brain is built to process faces quickly and efficiently, not to run forensic analysis. Most of us have never been trained to detect subtle digital inconsistencies. And as AI improves, those inconsistencies become harder to spot. So struggling to see it doesn't mean you're naive. It means this technology is sophisticated. And that's exactly why we don't rely on our eyes alone. As AI improves, obvious visual glitches are becoming less reliable. So instead of looking for dramatic mistakes, we combine visual observations with spread patterns and verification across sources. Because here's what manipulation depends on: confidence before confirmation. If a video looks real enough and we feel sure it's authentic, we're more likely to share it immediately. That speed is the weapon. Overconfidence short circuits verification, And once something spreads widely, even if it's later corrected, the emotional impact often lingers. That's the damage. So if visual clues aren't definitive, what actually holds up? Verification across credible sources. When multiple established outlets report the same event independently, when footage appears across unrelated platforms with consistent timelines, when primary sources are accessible, that layered verification is stronger than our eyes alone. Tool B isn't about becoming a digital detective. It's about noticing when something feels polished but unsupported. And when that happens, we don't panic. We layer the tools. First, the spread pattern, then the visual clues, then independent verification, because deepfake detection isn't about catching every glitch. It's about slowing down the rush long enough to avoid becoming part of the spread. So if our eyes aren't definitive and speed is the weapon, what actually slows manipulation down? Verification. Tool B helped us notice red flags. Tool C is where we test the claim itself. Instead of asking, does this look fake? We ask a better question. Has anyone credible confirmed this? This is where discipline becomes powerful. We shift from visual impressions to documented evidence. Start simple, search the core claim directly. Strip it down to the basic event being alleged. Then add words like fact check, full video, or official statement. You're not looking for opinions. You're looking for confirmation from multiple independent sources. Organizations like Snopes or PolitiFact often investigate viral content. That doesn't mean they're perfect or beyond critique. It means their structure is built around verification. They publish methodology, they cite sources. That's what we care about, the process. If the video claims something dramatic, check primary sources. Government agencies, press releases, full-length recordings, court documents, original transcripts. Sometimes what's circulating as a deepfake turns out to be a real clip that's been edited or pulled out of context. In that case, the manipulation isn't synthetic media. It's selective framing. So ask, is there a longer version? Was something cut out? Has the footage been reposted with a different caption than the original? There are also emerging AI detection tools that attempt to analyze whether media has been synthetically generated. For example, tools like Deepware Scanner or other forensic-style analyzers are being developed to flag potential manipulation. But here's the honest caveat. They are imperfect. Detection technology improves, manipulation technology improves. It's an ongoing race. That's why we never depend on a single test. We layer context and spread pattern, visual and audio red flags, cross-verification across credible independent sources, because verification is stronger than visual guessing. Truth check. Deepfake detection isn't about winning a debate or proving we're clever. It's about refusing to let speed hijack our judgment. When we verify before we amplify, we slow the weapon down. And slowing it down, that's the real point. There's something else we need to talk about, because once you learn how convincing deepfakes can be, and once you start noticing manipulation, there's a risk, a subtle one. You can swing too far the other direction. Instead of believing too quickly, you start doubting everything. And that can feel wise, it can feel sophisticated, but it isn't. Healthy skepticism asks questions. Cynicism shuts the door. Those are not the same thing. Healthy skepticism says, let me verify. Cynicism says, it's all fake. And that difference matters more than most people realize. Deepfake technology doesn't just create fake content. It also creates something called the liar's dividend. That's when real footage gets dismissed as fake. When authentic evidence gets waved away, when someone says that video, probably AI, even when it isn't. Now here's why that's dangerous. If everything can be called fake, then proof becomes optional. And if proof becomes optional, accountability weakens, because accountability depends on shared agreement about what is real. Courts rely on evidence, journalists rely on documentation, citizens rely on facts. If every inconvenient video can be brushed off as AI, then real wrongdoing becomes easier to deny. That's not careful thinking. That's a gradual weakening of our ability to hold anyone responsible. Here's the balance. We don't assume everything is real, and we don't assume everything is fake. We investigate, we verify, we stay steady. Cynicism feels powerful. It feels like protection, but it weakens public trust just as much as blind belief does. Blind belief spreads manipulation because it removes pushback. When we accept and share something without verifying it, we become the delivery system. We amplify it, we lend it credibility just by passing it along. That's how manipulation spreads at scale. Cynicism causes damage in a different way. When we assume everything is fake, we stop responding to real evidence. We dismiss legitimate footage. We shrug at authentic wrongdoing. We allow bad actors to hide behind doubt. And here's how that makes reality negotiable. If enough people accept the idea that nothing can be verified, then facts stop functioning as common ground. And when facts stop functioning as common ground, accountability weakens. The guardrails don't disappear overnight, but they loosen. Disciplined thinking lives in the middle. We pause, we pinpoint truth, then we proceed with purposeful forethought. And here's the quiet truth. If we train ourselves to assume everything is fake, we become just as easy to manipulate, just in the opposite direction. Because now anyone can escape responsibility simply by claiming AI. So the second guardrail is this. Don't let awareness turn into blanket distrust. Let it turn into better habits. Inquiry over certainty. Staying open to evidence instead of locking into a conclusion. Verification over reaction. Slowing down long enough to check before we amplify. Steadiness over extremes. Refusing to be pulled into panic on one side or paralysis on the other. When new technology makes truth harder to see, the answer isn't cynicism. It's disciplined habits. Truth check. Before we close, I want to future-proof this for you because here's the reality. Deepfake technology will improve, detection tools will improve, and then manipulation will improve again. That's the cycle. What works today may not work exactly the same way a year from now. And I'm not going to pretend this episode locks the problem down permanently. It doesn't. What lasts longer than tools are thinking patterns. Disciplined thinking doesn't expire. Pausing before reacting, tracing where something originated, checking whether credible outlets are reporting it, comparing across sources before drawing conclusions, those habits age far better than any single app, extension, or detection trick. And if you're thinking, okay, but how do I actually do that well? That's exactly why I'm planning an upcoming episode called How to Google Like a Pro. Because most people don't struggle with intelligence. They struggle with knowing how to trace claims efficiently and pinpoint truth without getting buried in noise. In that episode, we'll walk through how to trace original uploads, how to search with precision instead of distraction, how to compare reporting effectively, how to recognize recycled or repackaged content. This episode gives you the guardrails. That one will give you the mechanics. Together, they build durability because the goal isn't to become a human lie detector. The goal is to become someone who investigates with steadiness and intention, even when the pixels look flawless, even when the audio sounds perfect, even when the emotional reaction hits fast. Technology will evolve. Our discipline has to evolve with it. We can't control how fast AI improves. but we can control how deliberately we respond. Truth check. So let's bring this back to us. Deepfakes are getting better, faster, harder to detect, and that can feel unsettling. But the goal was never to live in constant suspicion. The goal is not to assume everything is fake. The goal is to become deliberate, to pause before reacting, to pinpoint what's actually verifiable, and then to proceed with purposeful forethought. Because every time we share something without checking, we participate in shaping reality, sometimes in ways we never intended. And every time we slow down and verify, we strengthen the information environment for everyone. That's not dramatic. It's not flashy. It's quiet. It's steady. It's disciplined. And it matters more than most people realize. Have you ever seen a video that made you stop and think, is this even real? What did you do next? Did you verify it? Scroll past it? Share it anyway? I genuinely like to know, because the habits we build now are the ones that will carry us through whatever comes next. This week, if you see a viral photo or post that triggers a strong reaction, don't share it immediately. Pause. Try one simple step. Run a reverse image search or copy a key phrase from the caption and search it. Just one step, not to prove it's fake, not to prove it's real, just to widen the lens and see what else exists around it. The more we practice verifying small things, the more natural it will become when the stakes are higher. This channel isn't about censoring or forcing people to agree. It's about slowing down long enough to really listen, understand different perspectives, and approach discussions with thoughtful reflection. Together. I welcome different views, I really do, but I expect respect. If you disagree, explain why. If you see it differently, share your perspective. Here, our differences are strengths, and they're starting points for deeper understanding, not weapons. And if you'd like a little extra help shaping your reply, I've linked my 3 Ps in Action comment edition in the description. It's the same process. I use myself to pause, pinpoint truth, and proceed with purposeful forethought. Don't worry about reading all this here. The full list of sources is in the description and on my site, american-together.com. I share them because checking sources matters just as much as checking headlines. Deepfakes are powerful, but they only work if we react faster than we think. And that part is still ours to control. We can pause, we can verify, we can choose not to amplify something we haven't checked. Technology will keep advancing, but so can our discipline. And discipline is quiet. It doesn't panic, it doesn't assume, it doesn't swing to extremes. It pauses and looks again. If this episode was helpful, hit the thumbs up, share it with a friend, and join the conversation in the comments. Together, we're not just watching, we're building something. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode, because this conversation isn't over. It's evolving. Remember, pause, pinpoint truth, proceed with purposeful forethought. Join the conversation. See you next time.